just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson, two former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today we are going to be previewing FCS Week 9 action. Specifically, we're going to be talking about South Dakota State, South Dakota, where College Game Day could have gone. Montana State, Idaho as well. Not a deep slate, Sean. There's not a deep slate of games, but there's still two bangers at the top in a week where FBS games aren't that great. Sean, by the way, before we get to the read, I have to report that I was able to get somebody to reach out to me. Somebody is going to send me a Jim Fleming bobblehead.
I'm happy for you.
They asked if they should send two so I could give one to you, and I said no, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, nice. That's fine. I saw plenty of Rhode Island head coach Jim Fleming at my tenure at Rhode Island.
You don't want a Jim Fleming bobblehead?
I had a really good interaction with him when I went up for homecoming last year. It was nice. He looked at me, took him a moment. He smiled. He's like, "Smoke! Didn't know you're here. That's great." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. That's cool. All right. Like that. That's cool."
See, I haven't interacted with him once. I tried to reach out to him for something, and he responded 2 weeks later. I haven't heard from him, but the bobblehead, it's coming.
Okay. I hope it
go
goes
right
well.
behind me.
I'm glad Flem is doing well. If he is, if I texted him, I would give it a 50-50 shot that he has my contact saved. No. That he would even know who was texting him.
Coach Flem seems like the type of guy you text him and he responds back, okay.
Yeah.
And like you send him like a long open-ended question and he just goes back, okay. He seems like that type of guy. All right, speaking of, I don't know where I was going to transition with that.
Yeah, speaking of.
BetOnline. Speaking of
I like
transitions, let's transition to talking about BetOnline.
Oh, I like it when I can get you on the transitions, and I think the listeners do also because they're stale. You know who's not stale?
F you.
I mean, we're gonna have the World Series going on, and the World Series is fun to bet on because it is the best players in the sport of baseball. It is the hottest pitchers in the sport of baseball. Everything's rolling. You don't really luck into the World Series. You're either an incredibly well-built baseball team or you are white hot. So get in on the action. Bet on the World Series at BetOnline. That's where you need to go. They're going to have all the bets for you, all the props, all the lines, all the overs, all the unders, home run hitters. Hopefully the Phillies are in it. Who knows? Hopefully they help. You know what? No, I'm not going to go down that road. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Know a bunch of people that made money betting against the Washington Commanders when they were playing the Giants this last week.
Good.
The dumbest team second dumbest team on earth. Congrats on
the dumbest?
The Falcons.
All right, Sean, South Dakota State, South Dakota. This game is being played in Vermilion. I think that's how you say it. At South Dakota, the University of South Dakota. Now, South Dakota has been hot. They beat North Dakota State. They've done some good things. They are the better of the two teams that are the not prominent teams in their state. I don't know where I was going with that. They're better than North Dakota. We thought North Dakota was good. They're not. South Dakota is, on the other hand, I think pretty strong. They have put together some nice games. But as we all know, South Dakota State is a buzzsaw. And their defense is so freaking good. And as we know, their offense is surging. I think that this game is very different than a couple years ago when this was at USD and USD caught him on the Hail Mary. I don't think that this South Dakota State team this year, I think it's far, far better than the team from a couple years ago. I just don't see, I see more of a gap than what led to that upset.
Yeah, South Dakota's interesting because they have a good quarterback in Aiden Bowman, a good wide receiver in Carter Bell. Both play huge parts, and they played huge parts in beating North Dakota State. They have a good running back in Charles Pierre Jr. So they have players that you need to be concerned about. It's not Jags out there, to use Steve Smith's term. They have some dudes that will cause problems for you if they are left unchecked. If you are out of assignment, South Dakota is a team that will make you pay. They haven't lost an FCS game this year. They have been rolling. They have earned and climbed up every poll, every spot that they've been at. They've earned it. They are a good football team. The only problem is they are playing one of, I would consider, the historically best football teams in the FCS since we've been covering it. I know there have been elite teams, and North Dakota State was unstoppable. In the time that we've been covering it, I don't know if I've seen a more complete team than what South Dakota State has. And it's going to be hyperbolic, and you're going to say I'm glazing them or whatever any hater is going to say. It's true. South Dakota State is unstoppable. They're number 5 in scoring offense. They're number 2 in scoring defense. They're first and third down conversions nationally. Whatever. They're unstoppable in the red zone. They've gone one red zone possession without scoring points. You can't slow this team down. They are an incredibly well-built unit. I know some people are tired. You're talking about them every week. You almost have to at this point. You had to talk about JMU when they were in the FCS. You had to talk about North Dakota State when they were dominant. You have to talk about the best Big Sky team when they're really rolling. Same thing if there's a CAA team going crazy. You have to talk about this team. And the only problem is that South Dakota has to play them. That's the only problem that the Yotes have.
I think you did a really good job of kind of painting this picture here. The Yotes have been like a really strong top 10 looking team. Like one of those teams that I think that we thought SIU was and could have been. And SIU is still a really good team, but South Dakota's just been winning more football games. They've been finding more ways to win football games. And they've gone up with some pretty close battles. The one that they had against Youngstown State, I think really, adds to their resume of fighting through difficult challenges. I think that what has always been strong for South Dakota that is even more accentuated this year is that they just have so many different options in that running back room. That they've got Charles Pierre Jr., you mentioned Travis Thies, who has had a couple big games, and he had a big one against Indiana State. But they've been able to turn to other guys in that running back room, that it's not just the two of them. And I think that when you've got that, it's the North Dakota State way of killing you, where you've got so many different running backs and you just keep, one guy's not working, you go to the next one, until you find that rhythm. Their defense has been pretty strong, but I don't really necessarily think it's in that upper echelon per se.
They've just been playing good football, it seems.
Yeah.
Really good football. I'll say really good football.
You wrote down the fact that right now they're number 3 in scoring defense, but you don't really necessarily find them in any other statistical category defensively. It's just a matter of them keeping people off the field and keeping them out of the end zone. I don't know, man. I know that we got thrashed when we did this, when we talked about North Dakota versus North Dakota State. We were like, yeah, what's North Dakota going to do? And North Dakota ends up bitch slapping them and makes them look terrible. I don't think it's the same here. I don't think anyone's going to get upset at us because of a South Dakota upset comes out of nowhere. South Dakota is fun, and I think that South Dakota is a good football program, and they could end up being a seeded team when it's all said and done. But I don't see the same level of veteran leadership and athletic prowess that South Dakota State has. And I understand that this is one of those rivalries in college football where no matter how good one team is compared to the other, it doesn't matter because they're just going to line up and hit each other and pretend like nothing's different. I still lean South Dakota State.
It would be irresponsible for us to not mention that if South Dakota won this game, that it would be an upset. It would be. And for as hack as I can be, for as double hack of that as you can be, neither of us are going to say that we are expecting South Dakota to win. I'm expecting them to play good football. I'm expecting them to execute to their best abilities. I'm expecting them to be well coached. I'm not expecting them to win. And I don't think that's unfair. And I think that's responsible.
All right, let's talk about Montana State versus Idaho. This game.
Yeah.
Man, this one I have a really weird.
Just give me this.
A weird.
Just keep giving me good Montana State games. Just feed me them. Can't get enough.
If Idaho beat Montana, I think our conversation here would be a little different. But Idaho started to bleed. They started to show us that there are some signs of weakness against Montana at home, no less. There were mistakes that were had in that game. They didn't do a good job of playing the run. I'm all in on the Idaho hype train. I think it's fun when Idaho's good because they've got one of the most passionate fan bases in the FCS. I mean, since we started doing this show, we've had Idaho be represented as one of our biggest listening audiences, even when they were struggling before they hired Kochek. I don't know, man. I don't think that they've got they just don't have it to beat Montana State.
And that's
Giovanni McCoy's been great and Hayden Hatton's been great. I just don't know who I can pinpoint and how I can pinpoint that they're going to find a way to win this game because Montana State, every time they play a good team, they get the job done.
I would say so. And that I agree simply because Montana State is the other buzzsaw. They are a wrecking ball in the FCS. They've been so good this year. They played so tight with South Dakota State. Should let you know how close they are to the pinnacle. It's an incredibly good team. If all the quarterbacks are healthy and playing, how do you defend that? How do you scheme up? Do you have a linebacker fast enough? And do you have a linebacker big enough to handle those guys taking on the edge? Do you? You might. You might need 2. You might need 3. You might need a 6'2 safety that weighs 230 and his sole job is to run through Tommy Millott or Sean Chambers' chest. That might be what you need. And if you don't have that, good luck. Idaho, though, has been solid. And and they play good football also. But there's still just a gap between 1-2 and 3-10. There's a gap. And we have to acknowledge that gap. It's there.
If there is a path for Idaho to win this football game, I am physically focused. That was not the word I was looking for. I am aggressively focusing on Giovanni McCoy. We saw
you're physically aggressive.
Sac State.
I think that's what you're trying to say.
No, it wasn't. My brain is just slowly shutting down, as it always does at the end of the day. We saw against Sac State that the game was a little close. They were having some success moving the ball, and then they started turning the ball over. And that took them out of the football game. I think that there is a path for Idaho who kind of has those Washington vibes to them. Those vibes where they just put up a ton of points. They can stretch the field. They've got the athletes. They can run the football.
Yep.
Giovanni McCoy has to be mistake-free. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying he needs to go 30 for 30. I'm saying that he can't turn the ball over. He can't take those sacks, throw those interceptions, play the way that he did against Montana. Because when this guy is on, he is a Walter Payton-esque winning quarterback. He is capable of being in that discussion. But because he's been a little bit out of sync, he hasn't had that same juice. I think actually it's not Washington. I compared them to Washington State a couple of weeks ago, and I still stand by that take because they're exciting and they're fun, but they've struggled the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good comp, but McCoy needs that big game.
I'm not terribly worried about Idaho's offense. It's more on their defensive side, and that's just because they're going up against a Montana State offense. They're number 1 in rushing nationally. Montana State averages 325 yards per game on the ground. How do you limit that? I think if Idaho can limit them to 250 yards on the ground, which would be a check plus goal for any college program. At Rhode Island, we used to have the goal check. You remember the big chart that we had? Did we hit the goal?
Stupid
Did we
sticker
hit the goal?
board.
Did we hit the goal? These are the goals that we have. They are your boilerplate goals for winning football games. How many pass yards, rush yards?
It was the chart.
Turnover differential, all that. If Idaho can hold them to 250, they're in a good position. And then you also got to limit the points somehow. Montana State's number 1 in that also. 45 points per game. What are we going into? Week 8, week 9?
Yeah.
You're putting up 45 points a game in week 9? You haven't had a week? You haven't taken a week off? That's what you need to worry about. Idaho's defense needs to come locked and loaded. Get the helmets on, gentlemen. Strap them up tight. Go out and
Play keep away.
Play keep away. Do what you can. Burn clock. I'm not going to sit here and look at it if you end up pulling out the win and saying, Idaho had 40 minutes of possession time and they only won 17-14. Good. That's what you're supposed to do. Figure it out. It should be just a fun game, though. I'm so excited.
I still lean, though. As much as I think that there's a path for Idaho to win this game, I still lean Montana State because of what you said a second ago, that there's 1 and 2, and then we're still trying to figure out who the remaining teams are. Now, there was a certain point in time before the Montana loss, I thought it was very clear that it was 1, 2, and then not too far away 3 was Idaho. But as they've stumbled, right, they stumbled a little bit. And so now we're kind of reassessing and trying to refigure out, like, what are they? That first quarter of the season, quality Idaho team can beat Montana State. But Montana State right now is a charging bull.
Yeah, that's Sac.
You can't get in the way of the charging bull.
If they play that game that they did against Sac State, if they put up 44 like they did at Eastern Washington, you just got. I don't know how they do it. I think I'm not trying to bury the lead for FC estimates, but just gut feel makes you say it. Montana State, it does.
All right. Speaking of which, let's do some FC estimates. Starting us off with Holy Cross versus Fordham. Who you got?
I'll take Holy Cross.
Oh, wait, quick standings update.
Sure.
I am 58-25. You are 42-40 because you stink. You did the games this week because you're trying to cheat. It makes perfect sense because you keep going 4 for 10, and I keep going 7 for 10.
You keep deleting them before I can even see them.
Go up to you see the little button in the Google Doc that shows
I'm aware of the
last edit was made.
I'm aware
and you can
of the button.
You also deleted the recap from last week to fill in the new games.
No, I didn't.
Did you not?
No, I didn't. It was all clear. You deleted it.
Oh,
Jabroni.
I did delete it, but you still can go back and check. You could also go back and listen if you wanted to.
Hey, Clinton, you deleted them. All right.
Okay. Holy Cross Furman. Who you got?
No, I don't know what I just.
I don't know shut the show down after that one.
There's so stupid. Holy Cross. I couldn't think of any other hackers. I couldn't think of anybody else that's deleted anything.
I mean, that's the best. It's the best one that you could have come up with. I'm going with Holy Cross, Northern Iowa, Illinois State.
I'll take Northern Iowa.
I'm going to take Northern Iowa as well. Monmouth, William & Mary.
You know, you kind of have Hillary's hair also.
Okay.
I'll go with Monmouth.
Monmouth sucks. Give me William & Mary. South Dakota State versus South Dakota.
I will go with South Dakota State to win this game.
I'm going to go with South Dakota State as well. Western Carolina versus Mercer.
Give me Western Carolina. They'll bounce back.
I'm going to take Western Carolina as well. SEMO Nichols.
I will go with SEMO.
I'm going to go with SEMO 2. Campbell Richmond.
I'm going with Campbell. I think
Campbell sucks.
Haj Malik Williams is like 10th in the top 10 in the nation, maybe in passing yards. I think he is. Kasim Hill's number 1.
Yeah, it makes me upset that he's number 1 and we're losing right now. I'm going to go with Richmond. Campbell stinks. They're overrated.
Stinks.
Montana State, Idaho.
Give me Montana State.
Montana State as well. Tarleton State versus Kark.
I will go Central Arkansas. I like the Central Arkansas team.
Give me Kark as well. EWU, Portland State. This is such a bad name.
Give me Portland State. I like, you know what? And they sold me because they posted a video of their president working out with the team, putting on the jersey, putting on the pads. I like that. I like what I'm seeing from Montana State. Portland State, all-time FCS great bit team and school. The free beer bit. Now we got the president doing all that. They are a great bit program. I'm turned around. I've flip-flopped on Portland State. That used to be Joe's team. I'm flip-flopping.
Suit her up, have her fill the A gap, and then we can talk if they're going to be Eastern Washington. I am taking Eastern Washington.
I'm not going to guess her age. She appears to be past the halfway point.
That doesn't win you a football game. A video with the president of the university doesn't win you a football game. It's fun. It's fun to talk about, but she's not lining up on the line of scrimmage with her hand in the dirt trying to stop Eastern Washington's run game.
All the dumb hack stuff that you like online surrounding football and sports, and you're getting mad at me.
I thought it was fine.
What's your beef with that?
I thought it was funny. No, I liked it. I like Portland State.
Now that I like I like something goofy surrounding football. I'm
not you, and I'm not picking them to win against a team that they're not better than because they posted a video.
Because you're a coward.
Because I'm not a fucking idiot. That's why. Sorry, that was mean.
You're a coward, and then you pretend to have fun. You don't know how to have fun, and you don't know when to have it. Then there's the default, and you know what that's going to be? That's going to be a big tally on the board. That's going to be a
You didn't win shit.
For Anderson.
Tell me I don't know how to have fun. Go screw.
Yeah.
At Joe DeLeone, at Anderson Radio.
Right there.
We've been on an hour taping. We'll be back. Oh, wait, what was the line? Wait, Sean wrote this down for me. Joe DeLeone at Joe DeLeone on Twitter. Sean Anderson at Sanderson Radio on Twitter. Make sure to check out Hack City on all podcast platforms and Hack City on YouTube. Did I do good, Coach?
End the show.